How's it going, everybody? I'm Josh Rosas from El Paso, Texas, here at the Don Haskins Recreation Center, where we will be covering two vaulting skills today. Those two vaulting skills are going to be the Kong and the Dive Kong. Today I'm going to be helping you by breaking them down into some nice digestible bites, otherwise known as progressions, so that we may practice these progressions to further become comfortable and confident with performing the full skill. Now let's get ready to go. Alright, so we're going to be covering the Kong vault. The Kong vault is a prerequisite to the Dive Kong, so it is necessary that we do this one first. So, before we actually get started with showing you the progressions, I'm going to show you the general use of what a Kong vault is for. So a Kong vault is usually applied to maintain speed and control over a single object to another object in the form of a precision, or to get over a single object and continue moving forward. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started with those progressions. Let's go. Alright, so the first thing we need to do to be able to perform the Kong vault is that we need to get our bodies comfortable with the movement that our body is going to be taking as we perform that skill. So the first thing that we do to do that is we're going to be practicing it through a version of QM or quadrupedal movement. The variation of QM that we're going to be doing is what I call Kong QM. We're going to be starting in a squatted position. We're going to have our hands out in front of us. We're going to reach down to the ground, but the way our hands are going to be set up is that our arms are shoulder length apart, not arm length apart, and our fingers are going to be facing forward. So we're going to be in this position, we're reaching forward and raising our hips up, and we're going to be pushing with our legs, driving our body forward. So the initial movement is going to be here, and we're going to go onto our hands, and we're going to replace our hands with our feet immediately. So wherever your hands are on the ground, your goal is to get your feet to that spot. So when you do it, it should look like this. So after completing your first Kong QM, the next thing that we need to do is start drilling it so that we can develop the strength, the hip flexibility, and the comfort with putting our body onto our hands and immediately pushing off to our hands and replacing our hands with our feet. So we're going to go ahead and just drill it like so. We're going to be going hands, feet, hands, feet, hands, feet. And you can even take it backwards by raising your hips up, pressing off your hands, going back to your feet, raising your hips up, pushing off your hands and going back, and so forth, forward and back. And this is going to help get you ready to actually do a Kong vault. Alright, sweet. So now that we've completed our Kong QM on the ground, we're going to go ahead and start applying it to an obstacle. So now that we're comfortable with going onto our hands and immediately popping off and replacing our hands with our feet, we're going to go ahead and apply that same movement going on top of this bench here. So again, we're going to start with our low squat position. We're going to lean forward, we're going to pop up and replace our hands with our feet. So it should look like this. Here, pop, same thing, going up. And of course, if you want to go backwards, you can. Hips up, hands where your feet were, and back down, and repeat. Like so. Next, we're going to be applying the same technique. We're still doing a pop on, but we're going to take it a little bit further. So we're going to be putting our hands on the obstacle and we're going to kind of push ourselves. We're comfortable with going on, replacing our hands with our feet. So now we're going to be making sure that our feet are landing a little bit ahead of our feet, of our hands, not our feet. There we go. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be in a standing position, hands are on the obstacle, and we're going to push nice and hard off of our arms, projecting our body forward so that our feet land at least a little bit in front of our hands. So when you do it, it should look like this. And then you're going to continue pushing it deeper and deeper onto the obstacle so that we get used to giving a nice push off of our legs and our hands to project ourselves forward. Go around, get down, then try again. And then repeat it so that you can get comfortable with the movement. So the first step in approaching a Kong, let me move this further, is having a good setup with our feet. We're going to be hitting a split step. So what a split step initially is we're not going to be going off of both feet together, but just like the name, we're going to be going with both feet apart. I personally like to call it a gather step, but split step works so that you can get the idea across. So we're going to be going, whatever leg is leading, that's going to be the one that we're keeping our momentum, transferring our momentum over into our left leg. That is going to be our launching leg. We're going to be taking a squat, and this is the one that's going to boost us up and over the obstacle. So while that all is happening with our legs, we're going to be making sure that back here with our arms, that we're taking a nice big swing as we're transferring that momentum forward into that front leg. We're reaching forward and popping off of our leg. Hands are placed on the table and we're going to be popping off our hands as our back leg is going to be making sure that our hips get nice and high by driving up. And this is going to help us add nice vertical power so that we can ensure that we get over the first obstacle without any type of injuries. Alright, so the next thing to do is we're pretty much done with it. Now we just have to attach everything together like a big puzzle piece. So we're going to go ahead and there's ways to progress it. So we're going to start by doing that first half. You want to make sure that you have some pretty good distance away from the obstacle that you're going from. You don't want to clip anything. So you want to make sure that that gather step that you're doing is nice and powerful and you're reaching out to the middle of the obstacle, depending on what it is. Park benches that are like this, you want to make sure that you're reaching out to the middle, getting those hips nice and high, and transferring all that power through. So when you do it, this is going to be the first thing. You want to do a top on, get comfortable, edge it up, see how you're going to feel giving full strength. And then on the next movement, go a little bit further. There, closer, closer. Once you get comfortable enough to give full strength and full commitment to the actual Kong, go ahead and rip it out so that it looks like this. Alright, so there it is. That's the Kong vault. Now let's get into the dive. Let's go. Alright, so now that we have the Kong done and out of the way, now we can move on to the dive Kong. So the dive Kong is primarily used to cover one or more obstacles. The main goal that you want to try and hit is that you never really want to go up and directly into the second obstacle or at the end of one obstacle. You want to make sure that your momentum and power is going straight up and over to clear the obstacle. You don't want to jam up at the middle, catch, and then Kong out. You want to make sure that you're getting nice speed and distance to clear the whole obstacle so that if your hands do not get on it, you can go into a dive roll, or if worse comes to worse, you just get a nice little hit on the face. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to break down the dive Kong for you. Let's go. Alrighty, so just like the dive Kong's little sister, the Kong vault, it's also progressible on the ground. So we're going to go ahead and do what we did with the Kong vault, with the Kong QM, but we're going to go ahead and push it a little bit further. Alright, so dive Kong. Dive Kong QM. We're basically going to be replicating the same movement of a dive Kong, but on the ground. So with a normal Kong QM, we're reaching out in front of us, replacing our hands with our feet, right? Alright, so now we're going to take it a little bit further, and we're going to find a spot in front of us, not that we could reach out to, but we can kind of hop out to. So we do have to put a little bit of power out into catching it on our hands, and then we're going to immediately replace our hands with our feet. And so I'm going to be shooting out to that line right in front of me. I'm going to be still in that squatted position. I'm going to get my arms swinging just to practice good form. Arms out in front and replace with my hands. Replace my hands with my feet. Now let's go ahead and try that again. But now what we're going to do this time, I'm going to get my hands out to the line, but I'm going to rip it out a little bit further and I'm going to get my feet past that line. So it should look something like this. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to work on, I'm not sure if you noticed it, was when I was reaching out, my body was extending outwards. So as I was going out with my hands, my body was out in the air, almost at a 45-degree angle. What that does, it allows you to kind of do a whipping motion, like a rubber band, so that you can get your feet out in front of you. It's going to give you that power to get a better rotation, to help your feet get down to the ground faster, and also give you some good forward momentum. So look at it one more time. There we go. Now, just like the Kong QM, you can also work this anywhere. It doesn't have to be cement. Work it on the grass. Make sure you want to drill it before you take it up to an obstacle so that you're comfortable with the movement. Last thing we want to do is get injured. So practice it on the ground. And then once you feel really good with it, we're going to go ahead and take it over to the bench. Let's go. Alright, sweet. So now we've worked on the ground, we've done the dive QM, we're comfortable with getting our hands past our feet. So the next thing you want to do is find a nice obstacle, a park bench, anything that you want to practice a dive Kong over. And you want to start up on top of it. And we're basically going to take the dive QM and push a little bit further. So we're going to be doing the exact same thing. We're starting on top of the bench. We're reaching out in front of us. And now our goal is to make sure that we get our legs off to the outside of that bench. Just like similar to that line, we just want to get our feet past our hands. So we're going to be here, reaching out and down. And then you want to take it a little bit further, get further on that obstacle, push yourself back, reach out, and essentially just drill the movement until you feel comfortable to actually do the full dive Kong. So next thing we're going to do, we're just going to drill it. So here, out, down, back up, a little bit further, and repeat as necessary. All right, sweet, we're 3/4 of the way there. Now we're going to start working on the approach, how to enter the dive Kong. Now that we're comfortable with exiting with a dismount, standing on top, getting our hands out in front of us, and exiting to the opposite side of the obstacle that we're dive Konging on, now we're going to work on the approach. Still same thing as a Kong, nice good split step, arms are swinging, we're sinking, and we're reaching out. The only difference between a dive Kong and a Kong, just like in the name, you're going to be diving out a little bit better, a little bit further. So what we're going to do to progress this, we're going to be doing a pop on, just like the Kong. The Kong pop on, we're going to get our hands out nice in front of us, and we're going to replace our hands with our feet. So when you do it, it's going to be like this. You're going to reach out and immediately get your feet to where your hands are. And then we're going to push it further and further and further, giving it a little bit more speed and power, getting comfortable with controlling the speed, power, and distance that you're covering, and so forth. And then you want to push this more and more until you feel confident to commit to the full dive Kong. All right, so once you feel that confidence and you've done every single progression, you've worked on the ground, you've done the dismount, you've done the pop on, once you feel entirely ready and committed to do the dive Kong, you're more than welcome to. So when you do a dive Kong in its entirety, it should look something like this. All right, so that's the Kong and the dive Kong. I'm Joshua Rosas. Train these exercises / skills at your own risk. Do remember to be safe. The last thing we want to do is get injured. Make sure to always check your surfaces. Read your body. Don't do anything if you're not feeling it. You never want to force anything. Everything has to be natural. And have fun. El Paso, Texas, Joshua out.